Small disclaimer. The contents of this video are my opinions and my opinion only. This has no affiliation with any past, current, or future employers. Having worked professionally in the tennis industry for over a decade now, and being a tennis player ever since I was 8 or 9 years old, I think I found a way to save you about $1,000 a year just on racket stringing. Just do this one simple thing. Stop getting your rackets restrung at local clubs and local tennis shops. Hi, I'm just wondering how much it will cost to get my rackets restrung with RPM Blast, both in full bed, both mains and crosses. A restring of Babolat RPM Blast is $35. Let's do some quick maths. $35 times 52 is $1,820 of racket restringing per year. There are people out there that have racket restringing machines in their home and are willing to do racket restrings at $10 per racket. There are also much cheaper alternatives out there to RPM Blast that are so similar, 99.9% of tennis players out there actually can't tell the difference. And the beautiful thing is, these strings can be as cheap as $2.50 per racket. So at $12.50 per racket restring times 52, you're spending $650 a year on racket restrings. The difference between those two are $1,170 per year. I'm sure some of you are concerned about using more generic tennis strings instead of the high-end strings like Babolat, Luxilon, or Wilson. Well, let's take a look at something on the internet real quick. Back in 2015, Babolat had a class action lawsuit filed against them. The plaintiffs were alleging that the Babolat Professionals rackets are different from the retail versions available in the US. Babolat, of course, denies any wrongdoing, but agrees to settle the class action lawsuit. Now, don't you find it funny that if you're a multi-million-dollar, multinational tennis brand, that you'd settle this out of court? Now, whether or not Babolat did have any false marketing or false advertising, we'll never know. But if they're accused of this seriously enough with the tennis rackets, what makes you think that they wouldn't do this for tennis strings as well? Let's take an example that is actually tennis string related now. According to this article, Rafa has changed his strings from Duralast to Pro Hurricane Tour to RPM Blast, and eventually settling on Luxilon's Big Banger Original, which is a fantastic string, by the way. This kind of contradicts some retail sites that I constantly view on a day-to-day basis as a tennis player. According to Tennis Express, the RPM Blast 16 is the string choice of Rafa Nadal. Interesting. And according to Midwest Sports, Babolat RPM Blast 16 is used by Rafa Nadal. So we have two pieces of conflicting information here. Either the retailers are lying, or the article is. However, the article is not incentivized to sell you a tennis string. The retail sites kind of are. Let's have a moment of disbelief. Let's assume that Rafael Nadal does actually use Babolat's RPM Blast at 16 gauge. If you were to take collegiate tennis players and gave them one racket of RPM Blast and another racket of something like ISOSpeed baseline control, 9 out of 10 of them would not be able to tell the difference. And even if they could, does it really matter in the end? I would argue no. There's a whole host of other factors out there that will determine your win or your loss in a tennis match. You've got footwork, you've got fitness, you've got mental preparation, you've got strategy, you've got tennis shoes, you've got the tennis racket itself. But if you really are curious about these minute differences of these tennis strings, click subscribe. I review these in great detail on a weekly basis. After realizing that the brand of the tennis strings you use actually doesn't matter, your only obstacle left is trying to find someone to string for you. You probably don't want a hungover high school or college student to be stringing your rackets, right? Well, to be honest, who do you think is stringing your rackets at the local tennis shops or tennis clubs? Hint, it's not the owner or the head professional tennis instructor. Ask your tennis hitting buddies. Ask your tennis teammates. They already know people that string tennis rackets at their home. They probably even string themselves. And if you really have trouble finding someone stringing your tennis rackets, go to your local tennis park. Find someone there that is there every single day and has bleached hair. He probably strings tennis rackets at home. I hope after watching this video, I'm able to at least try and save you money. About $1,000 a year, if anything. If you found this to be informative, please hit that like button and hit subscribe for those weekly notifications for tennis string reviews and other videos like this. I do stream on Twitch Mondays and Fridays, and also go on my Instagram and vote for the next tennis string you guys want me to review. Links are down in the description below. As always, happy hitting.